What's up, juice lovers? Some really juicy controversy happening now in the industry, and that is a potential class action lawsuit against this brand of juice, Watermelon Water, for allegedly deceiving its consumers. So, this article was posted on BevNET a couple days ago, July 27th, and I can read the breakdown over here for you. Cold pressed juice company Watermelon Water is facing a proposed class action lawsuit alleging that the brand is deceiving consumers by overstating the amount of watermelon juice in its core product and claiming that its products are not pasteurized or heated. Okay, so there's really three different complaints in this lawsuit. Number one is that they describe the liquid with the words cold pressed juice watermelon. You can see if I zoom in here. Okay, cold pressed juice watermelon. So they're saying because there's other ingredients in there, like lemon or cherry or whatever else is in there, that are overstating the amount of watermelon juice. I don't know. I mean, personally, it's mostly watermelon. Might have a couple of other things in there. I think watermelon rind should still be considered watermelon. I'm not sure if I agree with that complaint. Let me just put it that way. All right, but now we get into something interesting. The complaint also cites issues related to Watermelon Water's use of the terms cold pressed and cold pressured to describe some of its products. Now, this is something I wrote about in March, so about 6 months ago. I wrote an article on the Goodnature blog entitled The Truth About HPP Juice, and I talked about a couple myths. Number one is that HPP does not heat the juice. I'll get back to that in a minute, but the topic we're on right now, this term cold pressured. Now, I wrote in the article, as I stated above, HPP is not the process of actually making the juice, but rather a secondary processing step. Just because juice has gone through HPP does not mean it has been cold pressed. In fact, many HPP juices contain purees, smoothies, powders, or other ingredients which are not cold pressed at all. Adding to this confusion is the new term cold pressured. Within the last couple of years, this term has been showing up on beverage products to refer to HPP. And I wrote this in bold. Cold pressured looks so similar to cold pressed that I believe this is confusing to consumers and, in my opinion, should not be used to refer to HPP. Now, let's read the complaint here. According to this article, the complaint also cites issues related to Watermelon Water's use of the terms cold pressed and cold pressured to describe some of its products. Watermelon Water's original and cherry varieties, for example, are referred to as cold pressed, while the ginger, lime, and lemon flavors are cold pressured. The two terms, attorneys say, are confusingly similar in appearance, sound, the manner in which they are presented on the packaging, and such as the two processes could be reasonably interpreted as being indistinct from each other. Exactly. Thank you. People out there are paying attention. This has been confusing to consumers. And I mean, think about it. So if let's say you're a normal consumer and you're looking for cold pressed juice at a regular grocery store, and you find some suja juice or some watermelon water or something that says cold pressured. You might not know the difference. You might think, oh, cold pressed juice, this is what I'm supposed to get. You know, and you're going to buy it because you think you're buying cold pressed juice, when in fact it could be a smoothie or puree or have powders in it or juice that's not cold pressed, etc. Let's read on. By not explicitly stating that the product has been high pressure processed, as on similar juice products cited in examples, the complaint asserts that Watermelon Water implies that the juice is just cold pressed and undergoes no further treatment. The complaint argues that because cold pressed juice is the name established by common usage for juice sold after only being cold pressed juice and cold pressured juice are false, deceptive, and misleading names, descriptions for the products. I agree. Now, this next one, this gets back into the other point I said I go back to, that the plaintiff's attorneys affirm that Watermelon Water misleads its customers by stating on his website that his products are not pasteurized or heated, when in fact the contents of the bottles increase in temperature during high pressure processing. Is this true? Well, I in fact wrote about this in the same article in March. I called it myth number 2, HPP does not heat the juice. When juice or any other liquid is pasteurized, there's heat created. Now, this is just physics, right? Anytime you put something under pressure, it's going to heat up because the atoms are bouncing around faster and it just creates heat. So if you force something to shrink in size, it's going to heat up somewhat. And according to the FDA, HPP treatment will increase the temperature of foods through adiabatic heating. That's what it's called when something heats up, when it's pressurized. It's called adiabatic heating. Approximately 3 degrees Celsius per 100 MPa, which means millions pascals, which is a measurement of pressure. So, juice is pressurized up to 600 MPa, which means that the juice is heated by up to 18 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit from its starting temperature. So clearly that's not a ton of heat, but it is something, and the juice does heat up somewhat under the process of HPP. Now, just as there's adiabatic heating when you pressurize something, when you depressurize something, there's adiabatic cooling. So it does cool down at least close to its starting temperature immediately when it's depressurized. And they go on to say that in the frequently asked questions of the website, someone asked if it's pasteurized, and they say no, watermelon water is never heated. It is produced using a high pressure process that protects the enzymes and nutrients but eliminates the microorganisms. Then they go on to say, well, pasteurization or HPP is some form of pasteurization. So that's something they could argue back and forth about. I don't have any strong feelings on that. I mean, I think it's a preservation step, but whether or not you can call it pasteurization, I'm not sure. Like I said, don't have a strong opinion on that. So now let's look at what's behind this term cold pressured and why people have started using it. So if you go to coldpressedtruth.org, this is cold pressure verified. This is when the term started showing up, when this group of HPP equipment producers and companies that offer HPP services and also companies that use HPP as a preservation step all got together, formed this organization. If you want to see who's in it, if you go to the About Us page, you can see all the brands in it. You can see Suja Juice, True Fresh HPP, which is an HPP facility, same as NutriFresh. I imagine these ones that Universal Pasteurizations probably offers HPP services. See Watermelon Water here, Temple Turmeric, which is another cold pressed juice brand. So they formed this nonprofit. I'm assuming it's nonprofit, and I don't know why. I mean, they say, I guess they say the reason. So if we go to About Us here, the Cold Pressure Council and the Cold Pressure Verified program have been created as nonprofit schemes by a number of food and beverage industry leaders who endeavor to provide better, healthier food options to the consumers of today. The target is to improve understanding of the techniques and solutions being used to provide all natural, fresh, safe foods and beverages to the market. That's fine, guys, but why not just call it highpressureprocess.org? Like, why change the term to cold pressure? I can only see this as for marketing. I can't see any other reason for this. So, but now you say, okay, but maybe they're not intentionally confusing consumers. Let's go to the frequently asked questions in coldpressure.org. The first question: what is the difference between cold pressure and high pressure processing? And they say, well, so HPP is an industry term to reference the equipment used to create cold pressure to apply to food and beverage products. Okay, so they're saying HPP is the equipment, cold pressure is the process, which I find strange because HPP means high pressure processing, which is a process. Anyway, so they're claiming it's different. But then if you go to the About Us page, right here, this is on the same website. HPP, also known as cold pressure technology. Okay, so now they're saying it's the same. So is it different or is it the same as HPP? I mean, clearly it's actually the same, but it's confusing and they present it in a confusing way. Another thing to point out, this isn't the first time that the cold pressed juice industry has undergone some class action lawsuits. I don't know if anyone remembers when Suja and Blueprint were in separate lawsuits because they're claiming their product was raw when it's actually been through HPP. So there's a long history of basically juice that's been HPP'd presenting itself as something else and then getting sued for it. So if you're in the juice industry and you're HPPing your product, just put it on the label. Just put high pressure process. It's fine. It's okay. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to confuse your consumers. Just write it on the label and then you'll avoid any type of potential class action lawsuit. The food and beverage industry is notorious for tricking its customers, labeling things as natural when they're not natural, fresh when they're not fresh, cold pressured when they're not cold pressed. So it needs to stop. And I'm glad this lawsuit is happening. I have nothing against watermelon water. I like the product and I drink it. But the labeling is what needs to change, okay? That's it. The labeling needs to change and the whole industry and all consumers will benefit because of it. That's all I got for you guys today in this episode of Juicy News. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you want to have a discussion. Peace, love, juice.